Okay.
Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D, Matt Zosel. I know I just shook your hand, but head coach, Southern Oregon University, a guy I know well. This is the guy that actually got me to occasionally root for Southern Oregon. I sat in front of that TV when you played Montana Tech and Masters and actually rooted for you. Oregon Tech and Southern Oregon. Matt played at Southern Oregon. Long time rivalry. But it's really cooled off. Not the rivalry, but the ugliness.
Yeah, I mean, the games are super competitive.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
and wild.
We're on the wrong end of them this year, and two really great basketball games.
Very good games.
Yeah. I mean, the double overtime game has to be a candidate for one of the better games of the year.
I tell everybody, Southern beat us twice, but we won the third, the rubber match.
Yeah, it seems like we were really good at losing close games earlier in the year, and hopefully that's helped us win a couple close ones.
Well, let's talk about that because not to go through it, but you did struggle a little bit. You were actually way down in the conference. We were like, oh man, what's happened? What's wrong with Southern Oregon? How did you get it turned around? Because you were really, really strong at the end of the season in the conference.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, and it really wasn't a surprise to me. Like, I went into the year, I understood, and I told my assistant coach and even some of our older guys, like, it'd be really easy for us to start the year, 0-5 in conference because we played C of I Eastern, which was a brutal trip. We played OIT at their place, and then we played Bushnell and Corbin, and both those teams are very tough at home. And we were down 6 at halftime at Bushnell, and we didn't play very well, but we competed. Bryce Dyer had like 17 rebounds, and we kind of won that game. But I'm a big, I try not to let the scoreboard bother me too much. Like, it's impossible, but I try to strip that away. And I think coaching wise, like, I take a lot of responsibility for it because scheduling's tough. We only have 6 non-conference games, and then with saving money, we bunch those up. And then we had like 2.5 weeks before C of I. And I think I probably worried about attacking the C of I zone too much in that time. And then then we played 4 other games against man-to-man, and we just looked as bad as any of my teams have ever looked in man-to-man. And I think a lot of it was me and my coaching. Okay. And then I think it was, to having a long layoff. We come into conference rusty, and then confidence is such a interesting thing. We just didn't have a lot of it early. So I think, this team is just very, very level-headed. Like, they're not too high, not too low. And I think that just kind of put their head down and, trusted that, we're going to get some home games, and we're going to learn how to win, and we're going to, keep progressing. And even now, feel like we're getting better every time we get on the floor. Hopefully that'll continue.
So you finished the conference 4th, I think right behind LC State is the way it worked out. And then in the conference tournament, you ended up going to College, Idaho. You played them as tough as anybody has this year. I think, what'd you lose by 5 over there on the road?
Yeah. We were right there. We were down, 2 or 4 with 50 seconds. And, it's a tough place to play. And
it is. Long
they're
road
a talented
trip,
team, and they won a lot of games, and they're well coached, blah, blah, blah. But we just, we got down 14 in the first half, and it had been easy to let it turn into,
get steamrolled.
The type of game that, what C of I can do to you. And our guys just stayed calm, battled back. And there's a lot of similarities with Masters. We got behind Masters, and we just it wasn't like a switch got flipped. It was like we just kept going more than anything. And it's been a real staple of this.
What was your mindset going down to Santa Clarita? You weren't favorites. You had to play Montana Tech, and then you had to play the Masters. Not a lot of people were laying down money on Southern Oregon at that point.
No, and Montana Tech is, they're very good. They're very well coached. They're very big and athletic. I think, there's a lot of luck in this game. Their shooter, Koch, having, coming back off the broken ankle, he wasn't himself. He still hit several clutch threes to spark their run at us. And then we felt like it was a pretty good matchup for us, though, because they're so good at pounding mismatches at the 2, 3, 4 position, and we're real big and physical at those positions, similar to C of I. So a lot of the stuff is matchup based.
That moment when it's notoriously tough to win in Santa Clarita. I think before Arizona Christian beat them, they had a 32 home game winning streak. That moment when you realized we just beat the Masters on the Masters floor to go to Kansas City, what went through your head?
It was pretty gratifying because you just preach all year. It's not about the wins and losses. It's just keep getting better. Trust me, trust each other. Like, we're gonna come out of this okay, and to have it. I don't want to say culminate, because hopefully that's not
exactly.
culmination. But at the time, it was.
It was a big step, though.
Yeah, it was a big step, and so we got that win. And honestly, what I felt most was just happiness and elation for some of our guys, because Mason Whitaker, he really earned his position with me. He wasn't a guy I recruited, and I probably it took a while for me to give him the chances. And then Elijah Jackson, I flat out was like, I don't know if you can ever play for me. Like, I don't like when my most talented player doesn't have the exact attitude I want. And then somewhere last year, he just had the exact attitude I wanted.
Yeah.
And I was like, Elijah, you don't even realize the year you're going to have next year. You're going to have a monster year.
Yeah.
I'm rocking with you. Like, you've proven everything to me. And, so just the happiness for those guys, because it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get it.
Especially with those guys. And they're such good kids. And that was always the thing. Like, I always knew they were such high character guys, that they would make it. But just in this age of like quitting and transferring, to have two guys that stick it out and then go win a big game like that, especially like the way Elijah's played, and then Mason getting the pick 6 at a key moment. He got picked, and they went up by 2, and then the next play he comes down and hits a tough turnaround jumper over their stud.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it's just everything you hope your team gets to, And so I was really happy. And then 5 minutes later, my AD called me and was like, you need to make flights. You need to reserve vans. And so the elation of winning wore off pretty fast, because I'm not a logistical guru. So it was like, oh gosh, I got to do all this.
You got to do the work now.
Exactly. And then we drove 10 hours the next morning.
Yeah.
So I got up and drove the van, and it was dead silent. There was nobody was awake but me.
Oh, man. I bet they were.
Josh Meyer in the other van was going through the same thing.
So you were talking about Elijah Jackson. People who don't know, he's a point guard for Southern Oregon, 15-3, but he's tough. He was the talk of the conference the last second half. He really just he just became a complete player, really dominant. You had to have been really proud of what he did this year.
Oh, yeah. He's a stud, always been a high character, great teammate. Like, even when and part of it is you get to know kids better, and you realize that, okay, that face doesn't mean what I think it means. You know what I mean? Or
I got you.
That gesture doesn't mean what I think it means. Like, I got to relax on, but just the work he puts in. And I think the game just kind of like, and confidence is weird. I never want to be the coach that takes anybody's confidence away, but inevitably sometimes you do, but he's just gotten his confidence going, and he knows how much our team believes in him. And I think he's just willing to lead, and guys are willing to go there with him.
I got to ask you about another guy who's a crowd favorite. He's a favorite around he's not a favorite around the conference, but everybody knows who he is. Bryce Dyer, one of the toughest dudes inside. He's an offensive rebounding machine.
Yeah.
But more than anything, he just brings you that toughness that you need. I call him reformed football guys. He's a reformed football guy, just like not Jake O'Neal. Anyway, he's a reformed football guy. Like his dad, I should say.
Yeah, no, Bryce is tough. And there's no fake about him. He doesn't talk. He doesn't complain. He just goes out there and competes. And there's there's been different games this year when I've told Josh, hey, we're going to win this game. So-and-so's not going to let us lose. Like, I can just feel it, like, man, Elijah and Mason aren't going to let us lose. And there's been a couple times where I'm like, Bryce Dyer isn't going to let us lose this game. Like, he's just going to get every rebound that he needs to get in order for us to win. Yeah, he's also underrated as an athlete. Like, he's a good athlete.
He is.
He's very strong.
A lot of people compare him to Stratton Rogers.
Yeah, no, that's a good comparison. I mean, they're both just tough, and they understand roles and what their teams need, and they understand, that a great play isn't necessarily hitting a step back three. A game-winning play is getting a deflection or tipping off as a rebound, or just giving one more effort than what that other guy will give.
You have a guy, Joe Jahala is one of the most athletic guys in the conference. I thought in Santa Clarita he played some of his best basketball. I saw him over at the arena tonight, and I told him that. I thought he played some of his best basketball.
Yeah, and to make a run like this, you have to have guys step up. And Joe's another guy with all the tools, and I think he's going to be a monster next year for us. Because just the way he's come on at the end of the year, and he's always been a very good offensive player. Like, he's low turnover, he can catapult the three in, he can, but like just defensive feel stuff, I've always been riding him a lot. And like, I get better clearing the boards, and I thought it was another one of those fitting moments where Caleb Lowry, their stud, just seemed like he hit every shot the second half, even against good defense. And then late in the game, Joe had a good wall up, forced the miss, and just got a tough rebound. Like, everything I've been on him about.
Yeah.
And Khalil was out with a sprained ankle. And so it's just like just so rewarding that you ride a guy, you're hard on him, you don't make him happy because you're telling him, this is all the time. And then for them to do that and it to work out, it's just so much fun.
The moment for me in that game with the Masters watching Joe is there was a point, I think inside a minute, and he went up and he missed a shot. He pulled down the offensive rebound. It bounced off again. Yeah. He got that third one, got the two and the foul. I go, man, that's what Joe Jahala is totally capable of right there.
And, a lot of it too is just like maturing and, not caring about the other stuff. You're just learning not to care. Oh, I missed the layup. All I care about is competing as hard as I can and being close to my teammates. And like, we're just getting a good maturity about us.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. So you mentioned Josh Meyer a couple of times. He's a guy, I tease him all the time. I say, you were in the league for 9 years.
Yeah.
Just seemed like he was but he's your assistant now. And I think, number one, I really like Josh Meyer. He's a great guy. But I think he's doing a heck of a job. I know, obviously, at this point, you're not going to say no, but tell us.
No, he's a hoop head. He's just, the guys really like him and trust him. And, coaching's just like playing. There's roles. We don't always have the role you want necessarily.
Yeah.
And he's great at it. He's a low ego, high ceiling guy in this business, I think.
Yeah. I've learned if I need anything, I get a hold of Josh because you'll never remember.
Well, that's his job. That's his role.
Josh Meyer had a inside 10, 12 feet. He had a turnaround where he'd lay his body back 45 degrees.
He had no vertical lift.
It was impossible to block.
Horizontal lift.
Dakota Reaver shoots a little bit like that too. Yeah. But he was always fun to watch. You've been at you grew up at Southern, or grew up there. You played basketball there, and you went out and you did some other things. You've been really successful. You came back to Southern Oregon. Tell me what it's been like. What is this, your third year now?
Third year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, like I said, I work for the best boss in the world. Matt Sayre coached me in football, and he's super supportive. And I work, my counterpart, Carlotta, CK is just a rising superstar and super fun to be around, and a great mind. And it's great to have her right across the hall. And volleyball coach has been to the
Yeah.
Final Four, and you know, is just like so like-minded with me, and obviously, you know, Jess Pistol and softball, like just around so many good coaches and good people that you know, it's be hard to.
Does that help you recruit? Because Southern Oregon has just great athletic programs, like you were just saying. Plus, you have the football. Does that help you recruit?
I think so. I mean, you know, I think I mean, it feels like we're getting the kids we want, that I want to coach, and I want to do it with, you know, kids from Oregon and
Mm-hmm.
Washington. You know, I want to be a local team. I don't want to,
Yeah,
you know, go all over the country. Just not what I want to be about. And I think that there's, you know, so many kids that have a good experience at Southern within Oregon with the football. And, you know, Burke's office is away from mine. That's why I didn't mention. But he, like what he's done with football this year. Like, so guys know kids that play on the football team. They know guys that have, you know, girls that have had success with volleyball. And I think there's definitely a camaraderie that, you know, if you talk to all these different athletes at different programs and they're like, oh man, I've had a great experience at Southern Oregon, it makes it pretty easy to,
yeah,
you know, sell that.
yeah. It really helps, especially in the metro area, if a lot of people
Yeah.
have friends that go to Southern Oregon. It helps out. That grapevine is pretty effective.
And at least in basketball, I mean, we're trying to catch OIT, you know. I mean, Justin's had some of those places locked down for so long that.
Well, you guys are all recruiting out of the same box.
Getting Gabe Reichel was a big one because I didn't even think Wilsonville people knew we existed. You know, it's been such a steady pipeline to OIT. So.
Did you notice I didn't even bring that up?
That's one of the coolest
He scored 21 points with
coolest.
one arm. Let
me tell you about that story. He got his cast cut off a week early. The doctor gave him the okay. We were done. I mean, I was so sad for him. The season's over. Career's over. He's been nothing but a blue-collar leader, awesome kid. And so I'm like, you know, it's getting pretty close to your cast date. Just check with the doctor, see if they'll take it off. And the doctor, she was like, yeah, you can get it off. Wow. We just got to brace it. And then a super funny story about that is his mom, Sarah's like, coach, you can't start him. You got to win this game. His own mom said that.
His mom said that?
Because he hadn't practiced. And, you know, his left hand hardly worked. And then within 3 minutes, he'd hit 2 threes at the beginning of the game. So kind of made me feel smart.
Yeah, he scored 21 points.
But it made me feel smart.
Yeah.
So he's, but I just think, guys, you just always got to go with that high of character person.
Yeah.
However it works out, you don't.
Yeah. Well, he's an amazing young man.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
So you're down here in Kansas City tomorrow at 1. You're playing Kaiser, really, really good team out of the Sun Conference. Vince Miskowitz, one of the toughest guys, he's just strong as a bull. He's a rebounding machine. You know, you've taken a long look at Kaiser. What do you see when you look at him?
Well, I mean, the first thing is their athleticism and how hard they play. I mean, they're pretty relentless, you know, getting to the glass, getting deflections. Like, they do all those things that teams that play really hard do. And they're unselfish. Like, you know, that's a pretty good formula. And then you throw some talent in there. You know, I like their point guard a lot. I think he's very tough. Obviously, you know, 33. I'm not going to try to say his name. I haven't practiced pronouncing it. I just know he's 33, the beast in the middle. You know, obviously they're good, but like any good team, you know, they got other guys down the
exactly.
Down the bench
those unsung guys.
That can easily get 12, 14 points and pick up the slack if one of those two have a bad night. And just a lot of athleticism and toughness all around. So we're going to have our hands full for sure.
I saw them last year in Orange City. They took Oregon Tech to overtime.
Yeah.
And I think they're even better this year. Yeah. They've had a really good year. The Sun Conference was tough.
25-5 or 27-5, whatever they are. Like, you don't, like, it's a lot of games and not a lot of losses. So they're doing well.
So you're playing at 1 o'clock, which is completely foreign to you. Do you change the date, the game day strategy or schedule at all for your guys? Obviously, they need to get there earlier, but does it change your routine?
We haven't changed anything. That's one of my big staples is that, you know, do your best always. And if you're always doing your best, why would you change anything? You know, like we just, we do probably loosen up a little bit, stay off the legs, that kind of stuff. But we don't do any more film work, do any less film work. We always look at it like we're trying to just do our best to get ready for it.
Yeah.
Finding that fine line between not inundating them with stuff they got to remember, and they can just, try to just hit the brass tacks and let them go freely and have fun and compete and play and enjoy the experience.
Well, I can't wait for tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for giving me a few minutes. I really appreciate it. That's Matt Zosel. He's the head men's basketball coach, Southern Oregon Raiders.